This week's topic came from Lisa, who wanted to know how to be brave when feeling intimidated, which means that this week's topic is about finding bravery when intimidated. In the previous video, I talked about how I got through feeling intimidated. In this video, I'll talk about how I shifted from feeling intimidated to finding my bravery. In the next video, I'm focusing on a time when I was super brave. In the next video, we'll meditate, and in the last video, we'll have the Friday ditty or the fridity, where I bring it all together and get a little more poetic and a little nerdy to make sense of the journey. All the videos will appear in the playlist Finding Bravery When Intimidated. So, if you have a question like Lisa did, comment below or DM me on Instagram. I'm Angela, and this is me making sense of myself, and this is what I did. The question I'm starting with today was, when was a time you felt intimidated and found bravery? At the end of the last video, I talked about an incident with a supervisor that was asking staff to not talk to someone who had had a doctor's appointment, and they had to come in late, and basically to give her the silent treatment. And in that moment, I don't think I felt super intimidated. I think the people around me did. Because in that moment, I think what I felt more of was anger. Like, how could someone ask staff to do something so damaging to another person? And I was not okay with that. So I think that I would have felt intimidated had I not had that knowledge that that behavior was not okay. And because I had that knowledge, I was able to be brave. And so let's go back a little bit further. Excuse me. I think that I had been in situations prior to that where I felt intimidated. And I think that's why I went to go investigate and learn about what are healthy human interactions, how do we want to behave in groups, things like that, so that I could get a better idea of what was appropriate and what wasn't appropriate. And I think I didn't want to feel intimidated again. So how did I know I was starting to find my bravery? So at this point in time, things had been tough in my life when that situation happened, and I had been to counseling and was really trying to understand human behavior. And I think that I knew, the reason I knew I was starting to find my bravery is because I was willing to stand up to someone who was doing something that I would have found intimidating. I couldn't imagine being in the other girl's shoes that was, where all of the staff was told to not talk to her. And that would have in and of itself felt intimidating to me. And I think because I was able to recognize that sensation and that idea, that's what allowed me to to find my bravery. So why was it important to you to feel brave? Ooh, that's a really good question. I think that when I feel brave, that usually I am making the world, or attempting to make the world, a better place. Like, things will get better. And I want to feel brave because that means I can do hard things, which is, hard things are going to happen regardless of whether or not I have bravery. And it seems like it's a lot easier to tolerate situations where I might feel intimidated or scared when I go, oh, well, this is a time for me to find my bravery. What am I going to do? How am I going to do that? And it can kind of get exciting. Excuse me, boy. Please bear with me. I am getting over the flu. Let's see. Why is this change from intimidation to bravery important to you? Well, I think, like I was just saying, when I can find my bravery or my courage or whatever word you want to give to that it's easier to tolerate those challenging things. And, life is going to have its ups and downs. It's going to have its icky situations and its good situation, or perceived icky and perceived good situations. And just follow me on that. Sometimes I like to remember that I just happen to be perceiving things a certain way. There's a parable, it's called the farmer's parable, and I really love this parable because, is it good? Is it bad? I don't know. We're going to find out. Is intimidation bad? Maybe it's not so bad. Maybe it's fantastic because it helps me find my bravery. Is bravery bad? Or good? Well, I would like to think, I always need to be brave. But if I'm always brave, then how would I know that I'm being brave? Right? Like, how do I know that? How do I check that? What's one thing you did to start shifting from feeling intimidated to finding your bravery? I went in and I started studying psychology. I started reading psychology books. I read books. Let's see, if we tie it to my complex regional pain syndrome, which is a super painful neurological disorder, I was intimidated by my pain and I didn't like it. And I needed to learn about it. In fact, I guess you could say I felt intimidated by my body because I had no control over whether or not I was going to be in pain. So one of the things that I do when I'm feeling intimidated is I try to learn more. And that means I have to ask questions. And, I guess I don't have to. I want to, because when I ask questions, I'm more apt to be surprised. Like, there's the signs behind me that say, stay curious. How will I be surprised today? And play more. And I think it's in those moments of play, in those moments of being curious, in those moments of looking for new ideas that it gets more exciting. And I think that's where I find my bravery. What did you overcome to find bravery? Well, obviously intimidation, but I think fear too. I think that to find bravery, I also have to, or get to, I'm just going to point that out right there. I'm not sure if you guys caught that, but I said have to, and then I changed it to get to when I'm talking about finding my bravery and overcoming fear or an intimidation. Sometimes for me, it's remembering that I get to find my bravery. Oh, isn't that interesting? Today I get to feel this sensation of intimidation. And what does that mean I'm going to do next? Am I going to curl up in a ball and think I have no input or no say? Am I going to stand up? For instance, was it Milgram? I think it was Stanley Milgram who did the study where people shocked other people, or there was a Confederate, so you thought you were shocking another person. And I remember reading about this study and being fascinated that people would continue shocking other people, or they would think they were shocking the other person, for the simple reason that someone in an authoritative position said the experiment must continue. Now, when this experiment was started, the people, the scientist, Stanley Milgram, he wanted to understand why the Germans did what they did with the Nazis and why people just followed orders and did what they were told. And what he found out, because the experiment was done in the United States, is that we're the same. So these people were sitting at this machine shocking other people, perhaps feeling intimidated. They might check and be like, hey, I don't think I should shock this person. And then this person in the white coat, the experimenter at the back of the room, would just say the experiment must continue. That's all they would say. And then these people would continue shocking these other people. And so by understanding and learning about that, I feel like I am more capable of being brave and saying, you know what? No, I don't need to continue doing this. just because you said so. And it's like, but that takes like that energy and the, I think you saw me kind of move in my chair here, because it does take like that forward movement of, hey, no, I'm not going to do this. And that bravery to say no, because a lot of times saying no is a lot braver than saying yes. What do I notice around me as I find my bravery? I notice that when I'm brave, other people are more brave, which is not always the case, right? So some people, it will still be scary. That intimidation will still win out. And for me too, sometimes I will feel that intimidation and I won't be able to work through it. And that's okay. Sometimes that's where I need to be. When I can find that bravery though, or when I see other people around me being brave, that gives me the ability to be more brave. What skill would you use again to help you find your bravery? I think continuing to learn about the human experience. And I think that's really important, to ask other people to find out, what do they do? What do you do? How come you found your bravery there? And how come you didn't find it there? Is there a difference? What's that like? Right? So that curiosity, I think, is really important. And then that being willing to play in the moment. Like, I wonder what would happen if I just didn't feel intimidated right now and try something new. Why not? What's the worst that could happen? What does that mean that I can do in the future? So what does it mean that you can find bravery? And what does that mean that you can do in the future? I think that for me, it means that I can find that bravery in moments where I'm feeling intimidated, when I'm willing to learn. And sometimes asking those questions, I think, is being a little bit more brave than being quiet and not asking those questions. So yeah, I would love to hear from you. When have you been brave? How did you do that? What did you do? What's similar between what I did and what you did? What's different? I want to know, because you might have tools. I'm confident you have done things that I have not done, and I want to hear about that. These videos will be located in the playlist, Finding Bravery When Intimidated. I'm Angela, and this is me making sense of myself.